Hey everyone, how's it going? For today's video, let's take an up close and personal, in-depth look at the all-new Mitsubishi Outlander SE all-wheel drive. And this is going to be a detailed, in-depth review of the Outlander. We'll start it up, show the engine, get an exhaust clip and go over the performance data, take it on a detailed test drive, and show you a bunch of the unique aspects of both the interior as well as exterior. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and start her up. Let her run. The Outlander SE features a standard passive entry smart key system that utilizes the black buttons on the driver and passenger side door handle lock and unlock the vehicle. Once you have the key fob in your pocket and you're within the proximity of the vehicle that it detects, just press the button once to lock, accompanied by one beep. Then after waiting a second, just press the button once to unlock the driver's door, and once more to lock the rest of the doors, accompanied by two beeps. Now this exterior color is known as Rally Red and features the optional perforated leather seating surfaces, with two-stage heated seats for the front occupants. Another nice upgrade for the SE model is this faux wood trim across the doors and the dash, just for the front area, but it's definitely a nice visual upgrade compared to the ES's standard satin silver trim. And even though it's a synthetic material, it definitely looks pretty convincing from afar. The base Outlander ES is started via a traditional key located where that little blank is to the right of the steering column. But the SE, with its standard smart key access system, also features remote push-button ignition via the chrome accented button in the right-hand side of the dash. In order to start, just put your foot on the brake, make sure the key fob is within the vehicle, and then hit the button to start. Simple as that. The new Outlander features a fixed-ratio, electric-assisted rack and pinion steering system, fed through a 3-spoke, leather-wrapped steering wheel in both the SE and GT trims. The upper spokes are highlighted by satin silver and house your easy-to-use multifunction controls, with your radio, telephone, and hands-free voice commands to the left and cruise control off to the right. There's also a new radar-based adaptive cruise system in addition to other safety features which we'll talk about a little later in the video. The steering is pretty light overall and doesn't communicate much road feel, but it's also not a sporting vehicle. It's quite easy to steer, especially in low-speed maneuvers, but I do wish it adjusted the feedback proportional to your speed, increasing the sensitivity as you go down the road, but for anyone looking for a low-effort steering setup that borders on comfort, it does the job pretty well. The optional leather wrapping feels nice and tactile, providing good grip. And while the suspension isn't really harsh, it's not really soft either. It's a nice blend between the two. It still gives a little bit more of a sportier driving characteristic, I guess, but it still has enough give to it that rougher pavement really doesn't disturb it that bad. One thing I noticed on my week of driving as well is I think this vehicle is actually a lot quieter than the second generation, especially up in the front compartment. The Outlander carries two different transmission options based on which engine you go for. The standard 4-cylinder found in the ES and SE model is paired with a continuously variable automatic with simulated gear changes, sport mode that holds the revs a little bit more, as well as a lower selection. While the V6, standard on the GT trim, features a more conventional 6-speed automatic with magnesium paddle shifters mounted behind the steering wheel. A backup camera with guidance lines is standard on both the SE and GT trims, while you also have an upgraded leather shift knob. Mitsubishi's Super All-Wheel Control, or the vehicle's optional all-wheel drive system, is also located by the button mounted behind the gear selector, which we'll cover later in the video. I haven't driven the 6-speed automatic Outlander yet, so I can't comment on that, but the CVT performs like your typical CVT, developing power at relatively consistent RPMs. While it does somewhat act like it shifts gears, it by no means acts like an automatic, and really had me yearning for the set of paddle shifters from the CVT-equipped Outlander Sport with its simulated gears. While a CVT's inherent design is geared towards fuel economy, the downside is a good bit of droning engine noise when you push the vehicle harder, especially flat out as the vehicle nearly hangs at redline. In low-speed driving, the CVT is actually pretty quiet, keeping revs down to a minimum and really helping add towards economy. The vehicle's Eco mode, activated via the green button to the right of the hazard switch, modifies throttle input and AC performance. It decreases the acceleration response in efforts of improved fuel economy, but after pressing the pedal down about halfway while in Eco mode, the power returns on demand. Eco mode is best used in the city where areas you won't need to make fast acceleration moves. While a 9-second 0 to 60 time for the 4-cylinder is nowhere near quick, it's still smooth and consistent. It's adequate power for the application, but I would hope for some more in the future.
And so, we're going to flip on the standard halogen headlamps and fog lamps. Automatic xenon lights are available as part of the upgraded GT package. Hazards are located in the middle next to your active Eco mode, which I'll talk about a little later in the video. The driver's side window only is fully automatic. So let's go and check out the exterior. When you close the door, the exterior of the vehicle will also chime a few times, letting you know it's lost detection of the proximity key fob.
The Mitsubishi Outlander entered its third generation for the 2014 model year with a complete thorough redesign. It wears all new sheet metal with more high tensile steel and boasts a much improved interior with your choice of 2 engines, 2 drivetrains, and a variety of trim levels paired with a host of new safety features. The Outlander can seat up to 7 people with a standard third row seat and offers crossover buyers something a little different when compared to more commonplace vehicles in the segment. While it may not be the most competitive offering, shoppers should appreciate the improved fuel economy, upgraded infotainment offerings, and available luxury features in the top-tier GT model. The styling has evolved dramatically since the first Outlander hit the North American market in 2003. While the original offered a certain JDM cool factor with sporty styling and an attractive interior, it still fell short in capabilities and performance. The redesigned second generation debuted in 2007 and benefited from larger dimensions, optional all-wheel drive, available third-row seating, luxury options, and a new V6 power plant as the only engine choice, while a 4-cylinder debuted in the following year. Its improvements both in styling and equipment, not to mention sportier demeanor, gave it the edge it needed to compete in an already cutthroat market. More aggressive Lancer-inspired styling debuted in 2010, making the Outlander one of the coolest looking vehicles in the crossover segment. But with the all-new third generation, Mitsubishi took a little bit more of a conservative approach. With soft edges and curves, it looks more mature and mainstream than before. It weighs about 200 pounds less and is 7% more aerodynamic than before, with a drag coefficient of just 0.31. Not only does this help give it some of the best fuel economy numbers in its class, but it's likely to attract new buyers who may have thought the previous design was a bit too bold. The trade-off is that it also loses that unique, sporty style that set it apart in an otherwise similar market. In fact, the new styling in general actually reminds me a lot of the latest generation Range Rover. The Outlander is available in 3 trim levels: Base ES, the mid-range SE like we have here, and the top-tier GT. The GT is paired with a more powerful V6 and standard all-wheel drive. A standard 2.4-liter 4-cylinder provides adequate performance for both the ES and SE. While the standard drivetrain for the lesser 2 variants is front-wheel drive, the SE also has the option for all-wheel drive or Mitsubishi's Super All-Wheel Control. The all-wheel drive system is an updated torque vectoring system that's derived from the Lancer Evolution, with 4 modes that allow it to act as front-wheel drive when the all-wheel control isn't needed, or full 4-wheel drive lock by a button in the center console. There's also normal and snow modes. Up front, a satin chrome slender 2-bar grille blends into standard halogen headlamps that wrap around into the fenders. Projector xenon lights are also available in the GT model. A character line extends from the trailing edge of the headlamps, travels across the sides and meets into the tail lamps, which also feature similar wraparound design. Other than that, the sides are relatively undisturbed, with the biggest change being the elimination of the pronounced fender flares of the last gen. The mirrors carry LED turn signals, while automatic rain-sensing windshield wipers are also available. The lower front fascia is highlighted in silver with chrome-accented fog lights in this trim, with another character line that almost looks to cradle the black grille, sweeping across the bottom edge and trailing up to the bottom corners of the headlamps. Another curved feature can be seen in the hood, only broken up by a center spine line. The rear carries a subtle spoiler up top, more silver trim in the lower fascia, and one of my favorite features is the continuous piece of chrome trim that visually connects the tail lamps. Admittedly, it took me a while to get used to the drastic styling change. While it lost its youthful look, it's still an attractive looking CUV when outfitted properly. While the base model Outlander ES features a set of steel wheels with plastic wheel covers, this upgraded SE features a set of larger 18 by 7 inch 5-spoke painted silver alloy wheels wrapped in 225/55 Toyo all-season tires, tested to hold upwards of 0.8 G of lateral cornering forces. As far as the brakes, the Outlander carries 11.6 inch ventilated steel discs with single piston calipers in front, while the rear is made up by a pair of 11.9 inch solid discs, also clamped by single piston calipers. With this setup, the Outlander is said to stop from 60 miles an hour in a respectable 116 feet. As far as the suspension, both front and rear setups are independent, made up by McPherson struts in front and a multi-link rear design. And your spare tire is located underneath the rear of the vehicle. Overall length is 183.3 inches with a width of 70.9 inches and a height of 66.1 inches, riding on a 105.1 inch wheelbase. Total curb weight, as you see here, is around 3,461 pounds. Like we briefly touched on earlier, the ES and SE models feature an all-aluminum single overhead cam 2.4 liter 4-cylinder with 4 valves per cylinder, dual variable valve timing, and a compression ratio of 10.5 to 1. Performance consists of 166 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and 162 pound-feet of torque at 4,200 RPM. This translates to a mediocre 0 to 60 time of 9.1 seconds with quarter-mile time of 17 seconds at 82.6 miles an hour. The second option consists of a carryover 3-liter all-aluminum 24-valve single overhead cam V6 that produces 224 horsepower and 215 pound-feet of torque for a quicker 0 to 60 time of 7.8 seconds and quarter-mile of 16.2 at 88 miles an hour. Top speed is drag limited to 122 miles an hour. As far as fuel economy, the Outlander carries a 16.6 gallon fuel tank. The V6 ranges between 20 miles to a gallon in the city and 28 on the highway, while the all-wheel drive 4-cylinder ranges between 24 city and 29 on the highway. Front-wheel drive models get upwards of 25 city and 31 on the highway. The only caveat is that while 4-cylinders are rated on regular 87-octane fuel, the V6 does require premium fuel. The biggest set of improvements with the redesign was made with the interior, which now features more liberal use of soft-touch materials and modern styling compared to the dated, plastic-laden interiors of its predecessor. While a notable upgrade, it still falls short in terms of refinement compared to some of the other competition out there from Honda, Ford, and even some of Kia's latest offerings. It's still a well-appointed interior though, with an attractive driver-focused dash and available luxury features. The doors still feature their share of harder materials, but the middle portion is padded as well as the upper portion above the simulated wood trim. All of your power accessories are located on the door, including your locks, windows, and mirrors, chrome door handles all the way around, and a bit of storage down below with a water bottle holder. This SE model features the upgraded perforated leather seating surfaces while adding heated seats for both the driver and passenger. The driver's seat in this model is also powered with your standard sliding, tilting, and recline, but where it falls short and something that I kind of wish it had was some sort of adjustable lumbar. There's no manual adjustment or power adjustment or anything like that. Basically, the seating configuration as you see is what you get. Not to say that it wasn't comfortable, because it fit my body relatively well. I prefer a little bit of extra lumbar, so you may want to just check it for yourself to make sure it conforms to your body appropriately. The headrests are adjustable up and down, as are the seatbelts with standard side airbags. Logoed floor mats down below, standard knee airbags, and a manual tilt telescoping steering wheel. The dash is probably my favorite design of the interior, how both sides curve towards the driver, giving you a little bit more of a focus feel and a slightly sportier aspect. A host of new safety tech available for the Outlander include a radar-based adaptive cruise control setup, camera-based lane departure warning, and forward collision mitigation systems. A sunroof is optional, as is a panoramic roof.
So let's go ahead and see how she sounds.
The Outlander features a standard 6-speaker 140-watt audio system, but also available is this 9-speaker 710-watt Rockford Fosgate surround sound system with rear-mounted 10-inch subwoofer and an upgraded 6.1-inch LCD touch display. A 7-inch display with navigation is also available in the GT trim.
Side curtain airbags, grip handles up top, and visors, which I wish had a little bit more padded material on them, but do have illuminated vanity mirrors. The rearview mirror is manually dimming in this model, whereas the top stack houses your reading lamps, interior illumination, hands-free Bluetooth telephone microphone, and controls for your fully automatic sunroof. I do really like how this entire portion of the dash is basically curved towards the driver and has a lot of high gloss black trim and polished accenting coming across the edges. Now this touchscreen mobile media system available in the SE model is a little bit hard to get used to. Compared to some other touchscreens on the market, this one isn't quite as intuitive for the simple fact that you only have one knob, the power volume button. Everything else from tune to rewind or anything like that, unless you use the radio controls on the steering wheel, is all like a bunch of touch buttons. So especially when you're going down the road, it makes it a little bit harder to use and not be quite so distracted. So let's go over some of the basic features. This is your main menu, activated via the menu button right there, and shows all of your multimedia options. This screen does not have a navigation system attached to it, but another screen that has a larger display actually has the nav system, and that's available in the GT trim. I don't know if you can get that for the SE model, so you might want to double check on that. The ES model just has a standard radio, it doesn't have a touchscreen interface. So, CD is what we're on right now. You have to change the track via the button here. This button right here, when you press it, brings up some extra settings: repeat, scan, random, and sound control. And this is what I'm talking about as far as the intuitiveness. You can't really do this going down the road, for the simple fact that, especially if you're bouncing up and down, it's hard to hit these little menu buttons. But like your equalizer, punch, bass, different settings for the Rockford Fosgate audio system, and some preset equalizers. Surround sound, balance and fade, track list, and if available to show like song artist information. FM AM. It'll also beep a few times when you get down to the lowest volume setting. Preset station is located here. You do have standard HD radio, which is nice, FM1, FM2, so you technically have 12 preset stations. Station list, song information, and tune. The little menu button right here, scan, radio setting, and again, your sound control. You also have hands-free Bluetooth streaming of audio, so if you have a capable smartphone, when you sync it to the system, you can wirelessly stream your music. USB iPod integration with a connector located in the center console. You also have standard Sirius satellite radio, basically the exact same organization that you would find in the regular radio screens. Your clock up top, activating your hands-free voice commands, which you can also do on the steering wheel.
Ready.
Help.
You can make calls by saying call, dial, or redial. Say transfer call to change between private and non-private mode while in a call. Say phone book to manage the phone book entries. Say setup to access system and Bluetooth settings. Say voice training to begin.
Cancel. Alright, and then next is just an extra menu where you have your hands-free Bluetooth telephone and the customization options system settings, including image adjustments for like your backup camera. It's not a bad system at all. I mean, it's pretty quick to go between the different menus, and the buttons are relatively easy to see on the main screen. It just needs a little bit of reconfiguration in some of the sub-menus, like the audio settings, adding a tune knob that can maybe scroll through the different options. That would just make it a little bit easier. But in a nutshell, those are all the basic features of the mobile media system available in the Outlander SE. Your active eco mode, when activated, shows up in the speedometer cluster and basically decreases throttle response, modifies the air conditioning a bit, just taking some of the extra load off the engine to help maximize fuel economy. I wouldn't recommend using it on the highway, especially like merging, getting on an on-ramp or off-ramp or anything like that that you're going to be using high speed or quick maneuvering. It's best used for the city where you're just kind of driving around and stuff, because it does make the throttle a little bit less responsive, so it might take a little bit quicker to actually build the power up when you need it the most versus in the city where you really don't need a whole lot of power. But that's not exclusive to the Outlander. I know Kia has an active eco mode too, and I would recommend the same thing. Down below in the center console you have two cup holders, a little bit of storage, 12-volt power outlet, and turning on and off the power rear tailgate. And I believe that's just a little slot where you can stick your key if you wanted to not keep it in your pocket. Continuing on towards the rear, your all-wheel drive controls with 4 different modes. Right now we're in the all-wheel drive Eco, which is the most mildest setting. You have normal, snow mode, and lock with your locking differential. 2-stage heated seats, padded center console, with a decent amount of space, removable tray, an extra power outlet, and your USB port. As far as the steering wheel, on the left-hand side, you have all of your radio controls, changing the modes, hands-free telephone, and voice commands. The right-hand side houses your cruise control. You have your intermittent wipers off to the far right with your rear wiper control, and all of your lighting controls to the left. And like I said earlier, to the left you have your traction control and driver info controls going between the different menus and that little LCD display in the middle of the speedometer. You have your trip computer, instantaneous fuel readout, digitalized speedometer, little eco mode, all-wheel drive, and service interval. All in all, that's pretty much it for the interior. Pretty simple overall. We'll go ahead and shut her down. And check out the back seat. The Outlander's rear seating area has also been improved. The back seats now feature sliding and reclining adjustments, so you can adjust it for extra cargo space in the back or longer legs, or just kicking back and relaxing down the road. The back doors don't have quite as much padding as I would like. The only padding is the darker portion in the middle here, but it's pretty good for your arm at least. You have a little bit of storage down below and a bottle holder. Climbing into the back seat is also made a little bit easier with that little step-up platform down beneath there. The seats are also lined in the perforated leather, with adjustable headrests, and seating for 7 overall with the standard third row seat, which I'll show in just a second. Storage pockets in the back of each seat, and illumination. Climbing into the Outlander really isn't too hard. I would recommend people over 6 feet just to watch their head when they're coming in so they don't hit it on top of the frame. But the ride height of the vehicle isn't too high, so you can easily slide in. So that's definitely a plus in my opinion. The panels fit nice and tight, gives the feeling of extra solidity to the interior. Even though there's some extra plastic pieces and stuff, at least the panel fitment is pretty good for the vehicle. Overall interior comfort for the back seat, it's decent. It's not like super plushy or the most comfortable thing I've sat in as of late. It's a little bit on the firmer side, especially in the lower cushion here, but there is some nice give across some of the side bolsterings. You have the perforated leather, which should keep it a little bit more ventilated on a hot day at least, and you can sit 3 people back here. The good thing about that is, not only do you have an adjustable third headrest, but the drivetrain hump in the middle of the vehicle isn't too tall, so even if you have somebody sitting in the middle here of my size, it's not going to be the most uncomfortable position. You just might be a little tight with 3 people sitting shoulder to shoulder here. I do like that they added an armrest here. It is padded, features 2 cup holders, but the best part is the fact that the seats are sliding now. So if you slide them all the way up, it actually adds around 13 inches of extra cargo space in the back when you have the third row seat folded down. But you can also put it all the way back and stretch your legs out a little bit. And there's really no hardware under these seats at all, or at least under the passenger side, so you can really stick your legs up under there, and there's some soft carpeted portion here, so it's still pretty comfortable. Overall interior space, I probably have, let's say, 3.5 inches of headspace or so, which, not bad. I mean, the headliner is pretty low right here because of the sunroof taking up, like, I mean, this basic section of the roof here, but where that ends, they cut it out all the way to the top of the roof line, so you get much more allowances of wiggle room up top here. The other really nice thing about the back seats is that they're actually reclining. By pulling up on this little lever here, you can fold it all the way back, kick back and relax, or bring it up relatively straight. So even though the back seat does have some shortcomings, and like I said, it's not the most plushy back seat that I've experienced in this class, but it does have some extra versatility, especially with sliding back and forth and reclining, the extra armrest and padded material across the door. I think this could be a comfortable vehicle for a longer trip. Of course, to each his own. You really need to go experience it yourself to see if it suits your needs, because everybody is different, every body type is different, and you never really know until you see if it conforms to your body appropriately. So, let's go and check out the rest of the vehicle.
Even though the standard third row seat is much improved over the last generation Outlander, it's still limited because of its size. It's quite small back there, and really should be limited to smaller children or just hauling people for a very brief period of time. There's 2 cup holders on the left-hand side, whereas the right-hand side just has a little storage tray. And even though it's small, at least it does come with the capabilities of having the seat, but if you need more cargo space, just fold it down and it expands quite nicely. So to hop in the back seat, like I said, you just grab this handle and push the seat all the way forward. Using the little step-up platforms like I showed you earlier, you can easily hoist yourself in the back. Like I said, it is pretty cramped back here, so someone of my height is most likely not going to want to sit, but you could in a pinch. The biggest problem here is leg room, because if you bring the seat all the way back, there's almost none. I mean, I'm pretty much in here like a little sardine in a tin can, but you can move the seat up just a little bit, but it's really not enough. It's pretty claustrophobic for someone of my height, so definitely leave the back seat for children or smaller individuals, or just use it for cargo space. The third generation Outlander replaces the unique split tailgate design for a more conventional hatch, fully powered in the SE model. There are 3 seating configurations to help maximize cargo space. Behind the third row seats, there's a modest 10.3 cubic feet. You can remove the headrests, stow them down below, and fold them down to expand it to 34.2 cubic feet behind the second row. You have the rear-mounted Rockford Fosgate subwoofer, a little bit of extra storage across the side, and a nice amount of room overall. If you need a little bit extra more, there's also another storage cubby down beneath the floor pan. For maximum capacity, you could fold the second row and load cargo all the way to the front seats for a total capacity of 63.3 cubic feet.
The passenger seat doesn't have any power adjustments, just manual recline and sliding. The glove box doesn't have a locking feature, but it has a pretty decent amount of space overall, and it's two-tier, so there's an extra pocket up top that you could stick something probably about half a foot back.
The all-new third-generation Outlander is a big improvement over its predecessor in terms of equipment and refinement. It still has some room to improve, though, in key areas of fit and finish and performance. But all in all, it would be a perfectly capable vehicle for someone looking for the extra passenger space, all-wheel drive, and available media options in a unique package.
Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed the in-depth look at the 2015 Mitsubishi Outlander. Be sure to stay tuned next time, there's a lot more where that came from. Take care everybody.